Welcome to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast with your host, legendary powerlifter and strength athlete, Chad Ikes. For most, the journey of strength starts in the gym, but should inevitably expand through all aspects of life. Join us as we discuss all things strength. Now, here's your host, Chad Ikes.
On my walk this morning, I was thinking about a few things that have come up repetitively over the last, maybe month or so. And this will be posted after the podcast with Paul Onid. And we talked about some of this stuff. And I've just had more thoughts that I wanted to share. I think that people make a whole lot of excuses. And I think that sometimes we lie to ourselves with that excuse, trying to justify it. So one of the big things I keep hearing about is balance and dedication. When people have not even defined those terms, you need to define those terms and what they mean to you. And then, are you really sticking to it? Due to what I've seen recently on social media, it seems like every time I hear one of these terms, I just keep thinking, oh my God, this is ego. Like, this is ego. And I know that because I used to be like that. And I know that because of the people I've been around and how I watch and look at people, and I try to think. I'm always trying to think and understand and see different perspectives. And of course, let me say this. I'm not saying this is everybody, but I see this a lot. So people go, if you want to be successful, you can't have balance in your life. Okay, I think you're just trying to justify the fact that you want to beat the crap out of yourself. Say, for instance, like I used to do, I had to be in the gym every day because that's how I dealt with my anger. That was the one thing of my day that I loved to do. So I tried to justify it by saying that's what you have to do to be successful. You have to do that. And the same thing people, when they talk about dedication. Well, I'm dedicated. I'm dedicated to my training. Yeah, I went out and drank last night, but you know what? I'm still at the gym today. I'm dedicated. No, you're not. If you were dedicated, you would have never went out. You would have got to bed on time. Don't tell me you're dedicated. You're just creating a lie in your own head to justify the behavior that you want to do and then to build your ego. We need to step back. Like in this society, our society definitely needs to change directions, in my opinion. We're telling everybody they're special. We're telling everybody they deserve all this. The fact is, we're not born deserving of anything. The fact is, we don't deserve all this stuff. We need to earn it. And human beings were created to work. We're created to struggle. It's kind of like taking a dog, especially like a service dog or a dog that is designed to hunt or designed to pull a sled. They're beasts of burden. Like, that's what they are. That's what they do. That's what they like to do. Man, take a big dog like a husky or something. Put him in some little ass apartment and watch how he acts. He will almost start showing signs of depression. Now take him out and let him pull somebody around and let that person like show gratitude towards that dog for doing that and see how happy and excited that dog gets. They like doing that, and we're people. We need to overcome stuff. We need to solve problems. We need to have things to work towards, then be successful at achieving them. We're not designed to just be given shit. Yes, we're human beings, and we have this frontal lobe that kind of screws a lot of shit up. So we think that we want that, but we really don't. I mean, how many men have you heard of that pass away shortly after retiring or don't want to retire? Because that's part of what they do. They're the man. They go to work. They earn money. You take that away from them, what do they have? Most of them don't have much. The ones that are successful tend to find other things to do. A friend of a friend, he would take like old fence boards and make these like decorative benches and bird houses, and he would just give them out to people. But that was kind of his thing, that I'm going to go into the shop and I'm going to make these, and I'm going to make people smile because I'm going to give them these. So that was his little challenge. That was his purpose. And if we're lying to ourselves about that purpose, we're not really doing our best. I know with the balance thing and the dedication thing, when I started getting really good in powerlifting, it was because I finally realized that I needed to back off and let my body recover. I kept beating it and beating it and beating it and beating it, and I couldn't recover. So I didn't grow. So I didn't get stronger. I also posted my training logs at EliteFTS.com. So back then we had a lot of forums, and I would get so much shit on forums for not training all the time. And first of all, again, people assumed, they had no idea the level of intensity that I train at and how hard I actually push in those training sessions. They also didn't understand how I would do a lot of small, lighter sessions. But when you talk to me, I would say, I'm doing these heavy sessions. I do this many heavy sessions. And if you really want to know, you'll keep asking and find out what everything is, because I was totally open about it. And I would have these people that would bitch and complain and like, I train every day, I haven't hit those numbers and blah, blah. And I would always answer like, well, have you tried backing off? I'll help you with your programming. Hey, I want everybody to be the best they can be. And then that's going to push me to be even better. And nobody would ever take me up on that offer. And I could go, so have you tried backing off? No, it won't work. So, but you've tried doing more, right? Yeah, and I actually got weaker. I got so beat up. And I'm like, okay, but you're going to try again now. Yeah, I need to do more. To get as strong as you, I need to do more. Yeah, but for me to get as strong as I am, I had to do less. So why do you feel like you have to do more? Well, that's just because that's just the way it is. Okay. Do you want to put some logic in there somewhere, or just go completely on your emotions and continue to tell yourself what you want to believe? One of the absolute hardest things I did to become one of the greatest lifters in the world was to train less, was to give myself more time to actually recover and grow. That was one of the hardest things. I've done sessions in my life where I couldn't walk upstairs. I've done sessions where I can't get out of the gym. I have to sit and rest for a while. I've done all these crazy things in the gym. I've done all these crazy intense sessions. Those were cake compared to figuring out how I was going to actually train less often. Those were cake compared to going, wow, today I get to go in and do a recovery session. Woo woo. I get to do reps at 30. Awesome. What a blast. So telling me you're dedicated when you're not doing what is going to be best to help you reach your goal, to me, is not dedication. It's an illusion that you've created in your mind to justify what you want to do. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that everyone needs to back off, because there's a ton of factors. What's your age? How new are you? How good's your technique? How is your sleep? How is your nutrition? I mean, there's a ton of factors here. I'm not saying backing off is the answer, But from my experience, a lot of the guys that get to the mid to higher levels and get stuck is because they're not getting enough recovery. And most of those guys, or a lot of those guys, have actually kind of done a decent job of maximizing their recovery. But even in that case, it could be like, hey, no, you can keep training like you are, but you need more recovery. So you need to maximize your sleep. You need to maximize your nutrition. You need to maximize your supplementation. So I'm not saying that's always the answer. And if you're a new lifter, if you've been lifting for 1 or 2 years, odds are you need to train harder and possibly more often. So this is totally an individual thing. I'm using this as an example because at the high level, I've seen a lot of guys that are so beat up. And I've talked to some of the guys that have been really successful. And I'll ask them, so do you think you had to train that way to get that strong? Oh yeah, I had to train that way. I had to go that hard. I couldn't have balance in my life to get there. And I go, really? Because from what I remember, you were on so much shit you couldn't sleep. Or you were on so much shit your blood pressure was through the roof. And it seems like a lot of you were taking so much stuff that there was a lot of negativity going on, where if you would have backed off a little bit, you would have negated that negative side effect, but still got a little bit of assistance from it and been in a better place. I mean, if you're taking a whole bunch of shit and you can no longer sleep, maybe you'd just be better off not taking it, but being able to sleep. Because sleep is huge. Or the people I know that were so into training and they were beating themselves up, and this is another funny side note, is a lot of people will blame steroids for their crabbiness and anger issues, but they're not sleeping. As someone who has horrible sleep, one of the best things to put me in the best attitude is if I can actually get some sleep. And when I'm the crabbiest and the meanest is when I don't get any sleep. So, you're just grabbing at straws of what society says instead of actually going, wait a minute, I don't give a shit what society says. Let me look at this with my brain and my intelligence. But the same thing, I'll talk to people and it's like, well, your relationship was horrible and you'd come into the gym and you could tell that you'd been up all night fighting with your partner. So how can you tell me that you had to do it that way? What if you had given yourself one more evening of rest, spent that evening as a date night with your spouse, recovered better, had a better relationship with your spouse, which would transfer into everything else in your life being better? It makes sense to me. Because everything's tied in together. And then you have another thought that I had was the excuses that people make. Oh, I'm too old for that. Oh, I can't do that. I tried running and it hurt. This again doesn't make sense. When I decided I needed to drop weight, get healthier, wasn't going to compete at the highest level anymore, I started running. I hadn't ran in like 12 years. So the first day I went out and started jogging, I was like, holy shit. My knees don't like this. My ankles don't like this. This sucks. This is uncomfortable. But what did I expect? Like, I hadn't ran in years. It's not just going to magically be there. And after a couple of days, it felt better. And after a couple of weeks, it felt better. And then I started doing some sprint work. And again, I was like, wow, man, holy shit. That's a whole different impact on my joints. And it took a little while to get used to it. It's not the fact that I was older. I think I was, I don't even know, probably in my 40s maybe when I started running a little bit again. It's not that I was older. It's that I hadn't done it. And you'll see older people like start lifting weights and like, oh, that hurts. That's so bad. I'm so sore. Yeah, you haven't done shit in 20 years. What makes you think it's going to feel great? It's not your age. It's the fact that you haven't done it. I've had seen some young kids, and I've trained some young kids who, man, they're horrible when they first start training or they first start running. And again, I have a neighbor kid here who I haven't. He's probably 15ish, maybe 14. I don't know, somewhere in there. I haven't seen this kid run in 10 years. Like, not at all. He doesn't even walk fast. He's like a slug walking home from school. I guarantee if that kid went and did a sprint, it would probably not feel good. And he's young, but he never did anything. You know, when I was young and I could do all this crazy stuff, it's because I did it every day. Yeah, age is going to play a factor, but it's not the excuse that people want to make it to be. Again, they don't want to think about it. They honestly want the excuse. So they're going to lie to themselves and believe the excuse instead of using their own brain and going, maybe it's not that I'm old. Maybe it's just that I haven't done this. When I first started riding BMX bikes again, it was a little weird. Didn't necessarily feel the best. I was sore as shit the couple days after. And then I got used to it. And then, there's times where I'm riding 6 to 10 miles a day or 5 days a week. You got to build up to it. Like, stop making excuses. Just quit making excuses altogether. If you don't want to do it, then just say, I don't want to do that. I'm fine being fat, or I'm fine being out of shape, or I'm fine not having muscle. Okay. I can at least respect that. Like, I don't want to do it. I'm lazy. I don't like doing that. I can respect that. But when you're lying to yourself about it and justifying it with lies to yourself, that I can't respect. And you think about, I have some older clients, and I always love when they get their bone scans, because I've had a couple of females who they're like, oh, they have osteoporosis and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah. Let's wait and see the next scan. And we start training, and I start getting some weight in their hands and on their backs. And what do you know? The next bone scan, they're fine. It's because this is a machine. And even when it gets old, yes, we're going to get older, we're going to age. But at almost any age, you can reverse a lot of the things that happen in life. I mean, if you are a champion powerlifter your whole life and you continue to train heavy the whole time, there's going to be a point where it's like, dude, you're not going to get stronger. Your goal is going to be to hang on as long as you can to what you have. But most people that haven't trained, I got clients in their 70s that are still getting stronger. But they didn't train, they didn't train at a high level their whole life. They either trained or some didn't even train. I have clients that started in their 70s lifting weights. And we get stronger all the time. I'm always bumping up their numbers. So we can always get stronger. We can always do better. The question is, what do you want to do with what's up here? What do you want to do with what's in your head? And how hard do you want to push that mental side of it? And I think one of the ways that most people fail at meeting their goals is these kind of excuses. And you'll hear it like in powerlifting, you'll hear it, the people that get to a certain level. Oh, I don't have the genetics. Well, I don't have the coach. Well, yeah, that guy's athletic, or that guy's on drugs, or it's just excuse after excuse after excuse. One of the reasons I managed to be so successful when I was competing was that even from day one, I went, I don't care. I don't care what they're doing. I don't care what coach they have. I don't care what equipment they have. I care about me. I care about getting better myself. I can get to that level, and I'm going to do it. I was against steroids when I first started powerlifting. They weren't for me. At that point, I was like, I don't know if I believe the studies because they're telling me it's so wrong, but all these people are doing it and they seem fine to me. It was just something I didn't really want to do. But I never went, oh, that guy's on steroids. I'm not going to listen to him. I mean, he's the best in the world. I don't give a shit if he's on steroids or not. I can probably learn something from that guy. but I never use it as an excuse. And when I started killing it on the tested federations, and I'm like, I'm not challenged. I'm going to go against the guys that are non-tested. I didn't care. I was still going to beat them. Didn't matter to me. Eventually, I did go on because we found out I had low testosterone, but I had already put up huge numbers. I totaled 2460 something clean. That wasn't my excuse. I wasn't going to let it be an excuse. I trained at a gym where there was one point where I took a regular bar and I couldn't get any more weight on it. I'm like, okay, well, then I need to figure out how to get another bar. And actually, the gym ended up buying a better squat bar that I could put more weight on. When we first started doing dynamic training, I didn't have chains. I didn't have bands. I went, okay, let's figure out a way that I can do this. And then I need to figure out a way to get chains and get bands. And I remember dragging chains in and out of the gym, which totally sucked. You know, it was never an excuse for me. It was an opportunity. It was an opportunity for me to overcome something, to learn. And I think you learn more. When somebody just gives you information, I don't think you learn as much as when you got to go get it. So I think going and getting it, working for it. And even if it's like, okay, I don't have that equipment, but I like the principles, so how can I modify this? That's me training my brain. That's me strengthening my brain. And I think that had a lot to do with me continuing to get better and better and better. There were no excuses, and I always looked at it as an opportunity to get better. I tell the story when I was young and I had my equipment in the basement and I had a shitty old bench, which was really rickety at the time. And I was getting heavier too, so I could lift more. And I was kind of outlifting my equipment. And we went to look at gyms and we were looking at all these options. And my family was blue collar. We didn't have a lot of money and gyms were really expensive at that time. And I remember there was a point where my dad's like, man, I don't know if we can do this. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. I'll keep trying to collect what I can collect and I'll make it work because I'm not stopping. Like, it's not a problem. No big deal. I'll figure it out. And I ended up eventually getting a nice bench and a nice Olympic set of weights and stuff like that. But it wasn't like, oh, I don't have what everyone else has, so I can't do it. I was like, no, I'm going to figure out a way to do it. And then even when I'm in my 50s riding BMX bikes around, 20-inch BMX bikes, which is even worse because I'm still a little bit big, I don't give two shits what other people think. I don't give two shits if people are like, because I had a lot of friends go, you're too old for that. You can't do that. What do you mean I'm too old? I'm in my 40s. Now I'm in my 50s. Like, when did 50 become so old you can't go ride a BMX bike? Like, screw society and screw all you guys. I'm going to do what I want. Like, just because you want to make excuses and you want to go, oh, I'm old. I'm just going to sit around and drink beer because I'm old. No, bullshit. Like, get your ass in shape and then go do some stuff. Basically, that's it. That's the moral of this podcast episode is get your ass in shape and go do some shit. Stop listening to society. Stop listening to social media. Like, make your own decisions. And more than anything, be 100% truthful with yourself. When you say you're dedicated, take a minute. Every once in a while, take a minute to go, wait a minute, what do I think dedication is? Am I really dedicated? Oh, I didn't get to eat enough yesterday, but I'm in the gym today and I'm going to kill it. Okay, well, if you were dedicated, you would have got your food in yesterday. And if you were dedicated, if you come to the gym and you're beat up and you're sore and you warm up and you're like, dude, something's wrong. The actual dedicated lifter, especially if they're experienced, is going to go, man, something's off today. My body's telling me something and I'm going to listen to it. That's what the dedicated athlete will do. The athlete that has balance is going to look at his whole life and go, wait a minute, if I spend this little extra time over here, I can make that better, which is going to make my training better. And they're going to go, okay, so my kid was sick last night. I didn't get any sleep. So I'm going to modify my training today based on the fact that I didn't get the recovery I should have gotten. That's actual balance based on your goals. Going, screw my family, screw my job, I'm dedicated. That's not dedicated. That's not balance. It's kind of being dumb. I know lots of people that were successful that had great relationships and took care of their families and still became some of the greatest lifters in the world. Because the fact of the matter is, you cannot train every day, all day anyway. Like, your body needs time to recover, period. You can only train so much. There isn't an unlimited amount of time or effort you can put into the gym. If you do every recovery thing you can possibly do, you still can't train 20 hours a day. Hell, you can't even train 10 hours a day. If you're a carpenter and you work 10 hours every day, 7 days a week, I guarantee at some point you're going to hit a huge wall. And everything in your life is going to become miserable. So just take a second and step back and go, really, am I really doing everything I can? Am I really pushing the limit? Am I really dedicated? And you guys that go, there's no balance. You can't have balance to be successful. I mean, if you think about it, you have to have balance to be successful. Because if there wasn't some sort of balance, you wouldn't be successful. Okay, everybody. I'm going to end on that note. And I look forward to talking more. I will get I got a couple podcasts I got to get up. I got a couple more guests, some cool guests coming on. And please check out CourageBarbell.com and pick up some apparel and help support the channel. Check out our YouTube channel. If you're not listening to this on the YouTube channel, which is just Courage Barbell, check out Chad Ikes at Instagram, where I post a lot of other, what I think is good information. And that's it. I'm out.
Thanks for listening to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast. For more information, please visit CourageBarbell.com. Until next time.